Welcome to the weekly. My name's Jessica Amir. I'm a market strategist with Moomoo. Well, the US and Aussie share markets both hit brand new record all-time highs this week, with the US market rising $915 billion in value since the Fed began cutting interest rates last week. But this week we saw markets get a second game-changing boost, with China announcing its biggest ever property stimulus package this week. So what's happened? Well, this is what we can see if we have a look at the chart, with both markets hitting record all-time highs. So China lowered its borrowing costs on $5.3 trillion of mortgages, plus it lowered its down payment for second homes to a record low. And it also delivered a very rare cash handout for Chinese nationals ahead of China's national week-long holiday, which kicks off on October 1. So big institutions have started buying heavily into everything that can benefit from this consumer spending push, including consumer spending stocks as well as commodities. Goldman Sachs actually came out and said, with the head of markets at Goldman Sachs, rather, saying that he didn't expect China to bring the stimulus big guns out, and that investors should be investing in China-facing stocks because this time is different. So this explains why we are seeing huge moves to the upside in commodities. If we take a look at this chart here, we can see that all commodities, the key ones, broke higher except oil. And this is on expectations that we're going to see demand take a big step higher. Now, the price of the key steel ingredient, iron ore, that rose 12% this week. Copper, which is needed in housing and low carbon, well, that gained 7%, and that was its biggest move since May. Now, the price of coal, uranium, and gold also rose too. Now, if we have a look at stocks, we can see that these moves have also been reflected in the US stock market. The copper sector rose 16%. Freeport-McMoRan, that's one of the biggest copper stocks in the world. We can see them at the top right. They gained 16%. While sectors that benefit the most from Chinese consumer spending, well, they soared too. We can see airlines are up, consumer spending stocks as well, doing well, like Estee Lauder, Las Vegas Sands. In Australia, we can see very similar tunes are being played out to here down under. We're seeing heavy buying into the mining sector. And look at that, the mining sector's up 9% this week. The most gains in iron ore and lithium stocks. Look at mineral resources, they're up the most, followed by Champion Iron. Uranium stocks are also following in hot pursuit in third place. Stocks like Boss Energy and Paladin are up. While we're also seeing selling in Australia's biggest banks. Now, this is because this week the Reserve Bank of Australia tipped that Aussie interest rates will probably stay higher for longer. And they see inflation also picking up higher this year and next as rents and power bills and insurance costs get higher too. So what are some potential trading and investing ideas? Well, I'll answer. Here's a look at what Moomoo users have traded the most this week on our platform. We can see Nvidia and Tesla are really picking up. And this is, of course, because of China announcing that mass stimulus package. While we're also starting to see ETFs pick up that are really focused on the Chinese market. We can see the yin leveraged ETF is in the mix as one of the most bought. But here's something for you to consider. Consider something that's perhaps a little less volatile, the iShares MSCI China ETF. Now, this ETF has broken out. The technical indicators are also suggesting the China MSCI ETF is likely to extend its move on up on the short and medium and longer term because all those downtrends have been broken. It's also worthwhile considering other China-facing ETFs as well. Also consider copper stocks. Why not the copper ETF, Global X Copper Miners ETF, Wire? And maybe take a look at BHP and Rio Tinto. They've moved considerably higher and gapped up off their lows. That's a technical bullish signal there for you. Also keep in mind they're pretty strong dividend payers too. And lastly, consider watching China and US stocks that are heavily focused on the Chinese consumer, such as Alibaba, Pinduoduo, which is PDD, JD.com and BYD. And that's the weekly. I'm Jessica Amir. Stay safe, happy trading. See you on Monday.